Hi, and we're back for part two of recognizing the patterns in the Holy Scripture. Part two, we're going to talk about some different approaches for how we can approach the Scriptures and how some techniques for reading and understanding and growing in the Scriptures. Everything from chronological to topical, dispensational, and what we're going to spend more time on is really talking about patterns, the pattern-based approach, or what I call concentric, meaning like concentric circles, things that keeps going around and around but moving forward at the same time. So how do we approach the Scriptures? How can we approach? One way we do is chronological. What I mean by chronological, that's where you start at Genesis and you go, through to Revelations, and you do things based on a timeline, on a chronological. This happened first, the Garden of Eden, and then this, and then this. That's a good way. That's a good approach, because we should always, read things chronologically so you can kind of get the sequence of events in your head. And what does that provide us? It provides us some good information. It really does, because we kind of get a timeline for how things happen within the Bible, and that's always good to know. Also, when we do things chronologically, it's good to sometimes to lay that pattern of chronology along with natural or world history, because there's a lot of similarities that things that's happening biblically with things that are happening in the rest of the world. Another approach that's used quite often is topical. And what I mean by topical, that's where we group things together based on topics, like the creation. That whole thing is looked at topically, not just chronologically. Or if you're talking about, they go into the Gospels and you're just looking at the life of Jesus, from a topical perspective. So there's many ways you can break the Bible, the Scriptures up from a topical perspective. And again, what does it do? It provides us more information. Good information, more information. Another approach that's used quite often, especially kind of in the seminary world community, is dispensational. When I use the word dispensational, I'm really talking about a period of time, an epoch of time, when we say dispensation. Now, there are 7 classic dispensations of time that a lot of theologians look at when we look across the Scriptures. If you look at from the beginning, before the fall of man, that was the dispensation, or time period of innocence, when Adam walked with God, and that was before sin entered. Then after sin entered, now we hit a dispensation of consciousness. Now Adam is conscious of his environment. He's conscious that, hey, I'm standing here naked. And God had to come to him. Who told you you were naked? Because now he has awareness. So as we move forward through that, there's a dispensation we call of human government. That's after the flood, after Noah's 3 sons, they start to move out their generations and their tribes, and there was human government that was established. Now there was flaws with human government that led us into the dispensation of the promise with Abraham, all right? And where Abraham was given a promise. And even though Abraham didn't see the full fulfillment of the promise, he lived in that dispensation. Then moving forward into Exodus, and on out actually through most of the rest of your Old Testament, is the dispensation of law. And that's where, we got the 10 Commandments and the Levitical law, and I think over 613 different laws that were given to Moses, and so that he could prepare Israel to become a holy nation. And then when Jesus came on the scene, that was started our dispensation of grace. And that's where we are now, in that dispensation of grace. We're no longer under the law that Jesus came to fulfill the law. So, and then as we move out into the Revelation, the book of Revelations, we get to the millennial kingdom and that millennial dispensation. So you see there's approaches. These are different ways we can approach the Scripture. Now, when we think about dispensations, it also provides us not just information, but more knowledge. But we want to move past that. We want to kind of bring all these pieces together, and that's why I love the pattern-based approach. And what do I mean by patterns? You see, God established different patterns in nature, in the heavens, and these same patterns, sometimes they pull a thread throughout the Bible. So when we look at when you find the pattern, just like he told Moses with the tabernacle, he gave Moses specific instructions. Down to the infinite detail on how the tabernacle was going to be built. And the reason, because he said it's going to be built according to the pattern of things that are in heaven. So that tabernacle was an earthly pattern of things that were already existing and happening in heaven. And that's why Moses had to build it so precisely. So, and there's patterns throughout the Bible. And I love taking that approach, because when we look at this pattern perspective, we can take any concept, whether it's marriage or love, salvation, even down to food, diet, what we eat. And if you start at Genesis and you pull the thread, and you have to pull that thread all the way through, but mainly you want to pull it through what? That lens, that prism of Jesus Christ, because he brings fulfillment of the heart into it. And then as you go out from there, that's the application side. So over here we have the foundational side. Jesus makes it about the heart, fulfills the law, and now we go into application as we go into a lot of the books of the New Testament. Paul, he brings a lot of application into the things that Jesus had brought fulfillment that was laid out earlier. And really what that helps us to do is to bring all those things together. Whether we're talking chronology, topically, dispensationally, now we can roll all those concepts together, and we go from the data to the information to the knowledge, and that will help get us out to wisdom. So we're going to go into part 3 here, and when we hit part 3, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about with a pattern-based approach. Hope to see you in the next session.